Red Bull is starting the 2024 season with a really tough job. They need to keep being as awesome as they were the last 2 years. But now all the other teams know the rules better, so it's getting harder for the team from Milton Keynes. The Austrian team has shared some cool details about their new car called the RB20. And they've fixed some problems the old car had, like being slow around tight corners and not handling bumps on the track very well. The RB20 will probably still be the best car on the racetrack. So we're wondering, will other teams finally catch up, or has Red Bull already won before the season even starts? It's pretty safe to say that Red Bull is starting 2024 as a team everyone expects to win because they had an amazing 2023 season where they won 21 out of 22 races, and Max Verstappen will be the driver everyone else is trying to beat after he broke so many records last year, including winning 19 races in one season. But since the car rules are staying the same and other teams are finally figuring out what they need to do to compete, Red Bull knew their new RB20 car needed to be different but also similar to last year's RB19 car to keep winning. So what exactly is Red Bull going to change on their 2024 race car? First off, not many people thought Red Bull had any weak spots with the RB19 since they were always winning with Verstappen leading by huge amounts, but Max himself said there were some areas where their car wasn't as good as it could be. One of the biggest problems was how the car acted when it went over curbs and around slow, tight corners, which is exactly why the RB19 struggled the most in Singapore, the only race they let another team win in 2023. When talking about these problem areas, Verstappen said it's hard to explain, but we're definitely working on our car to make it better. We know what our weak spots are and that's what we're trying to fix. Plus we want to make our strong points even stronger. Of course we have weaknesses, just look at our race weekend in Singapore. On street tracks in general, we struggle more, like in Vegas too. Low-speed corners are definitely not our strongest area, and going over bumps and curbs is something we really need to work on. When the 3-time world champion talks, the team better listen, and that's exactly what they've been working on really hard back at their factory. According to their chief engineer Paul Monaghan, even though his team totally dominated the 2023 season and got to start working on the 2024 car earlier than all their rivals, it's still not perfect and needs some fixing up. Explaining this more, Monaghan said, "It won't surprise you when I tell you that the new car will be similar to our current car. It would be crazy to throw away this design, but we still have to make progress and find ways to go faster. The other teams are right behind us, and if they get faster, we have to get even faster. In the RB20, we'll use all the lessons we learned from our current car and keep all the good parts. Then in Bahrain, we'll see if we did a good enough job." Red Bull has set such high standards that have been really hard and almost impossible for other teams to match, so the big question is, can they keep this up in 2024? Right now what other teams are saying basically means they think they can find ways to go 0.5 to 2.5 seconds faster during the winter break, mostly by copying what they learned from Red Bull's success. Of course, the other teams have no clue what Red Bull has been doing for 2024, and as Zak Brown said, it's a mystery whether any other team will be able to catch up because they don't know what they'll be racing against in 2024. Unlike Red Bull, all the other teams kept upgrading their cars until the very end of the 2023 season, and they kind of knew where they stood, which could easily help them guess where they might be next season with how fast they're improving. All they can hope for is that Horner's comments are true and Red Bull is indeed getting smaller improvements from their car now. When explaining how they've reached the top of development, the British team boss added, "I'm sure over the next 2 years we will see much closer racing. We will not repeat this dominance in 2024. This will go down as a once-in-a-lifetime year for sure. We got up the development curve faster than others, but we are seeing smaller improvements now, and with less wind tunnel time. Even though we switched focus early, we still had less practice time than many of our opponents, so we had to be very careful and picky. There's a fresh start for the year, and I'm convinced you will see a lot of cars looking like the RB19 design." Verstappen has talked more about this, agreeing with Horner's thoughts, adding that the other teams aren't stupid and the longer the sport keeps the same rules, the closer the competition is going to get because the rest of the grid is going to start learning which direction they need to develop their cars. But the rest of the grid didn't have the luxury of having brilliant minds like Nui and Watch in developing such an amazing car, which let them find even more speed out of the car over the last year. According to the technical experts, the Venturi channels of Red Bull, which are their secret weapon when it comes to going fast, are going to be made even better. This is an area that other teams have changed their car bottom and floor designs for in the 2024 season. And if Red Bull manages to beat everybody else on the grid by improving the design that made them so powerful in 2023, the season could be over before it even started. Of course, we can't make any guesses until the cars actually start racing in Bahrain. And from what we've seen in the last 2 years, Aston Martin and McLaren are definitely the best example teams when it comes to getting better under the current technical rules. One of Red Bull's test drivers, Jake Dennis, got to drive the RB20 in the simulator, and his comments are pretty depressing for the rest of the grid if they're true. According to Dennis, the improvements made to the car are really great, and if other teams want to compete with the Austrian team, they would have to find a whole second of speed during the winter break. Adding more to this topic, he explained, I would expect us to become champions again unless someone like Ferrari or Mercedes somehow manages to find about a second overnight. I'd be lying if I said we didn't switch our attention to the 2024 car pretty quickly. We didn't do any development on the 2023 car after Singapore. I think it's going to be quite a boring season in Formula One with Max probably winning everything. Obviously, finding a second of speed is what all the other teams are trying to do, and recent comments from Ferrari say that the Italian team was able to add 30 downforce points to their 2024 car, which should make them about 0.7 of a second faster. Wolff's first promise was that the W15 was going to be 2.5 seconds faster than the car before it. So maybe what Dennis is hinting at isn't as impossible as he thinks it is, no matter what. Red Bull's 2024 season will really affect how they do in 2025 as well, which is the same situation for all the other teams. Knowing that you have all this advantage gives you the pressure of using it perfectly until the technical rules are changed. And while the development curve is getting smaller improvements, it doesn't necessarily mean it's slipping away from you. This might be one of the reasons why the Austrian team has already started working on the 2025 car, as Ben Waterhouse, the head of performance engineers, said that it makes sense for the team to work on the RB21 now that they've done as much work as they can on the current RB20 during this time period. Explaining this topic even more, Ben said, we know that the RB19 has big limitations. If we think back to Singapore, weaknesses definitely showed up. These are areas we want to improve, whether it's performance at high or low speeds. At the same time, the car had clear strong points which we want to make better while also trying to fix its problem areas. The RB20 is a car that is at least 6 months old, and we're starting to move our attention to the RB21 even if the season hasn't even started yet. Red Bull still has to see how their partnership with Ford will affect their performance in the newly changed technical rules from 2026 onwards. But right now the Austrian team has a difficult and challenging mission ahead of themselves. Keep winning and improve the car in a way that the rest of the grid will still be where they are. Or more precisely, they will be closer to the RB19, but the RB20 should set a standard the rest of the grid will have to chase for yet another year. What do you think about the RB20's challenges? Let us know in the comments below.